Hello and welcome to Bags of Action. My name's Steve and this is a 5-minute review of Night Hunter from 2018. The film stars Henry Cavill, Ben Kingsley, Alexandra Daddario, Stanley Tucci, Brendan Fletcher and Nathan Fillion. So on the surface, just from the cast, it sounds like a really interesting film and is what caught my attention. The film is written and directed by David Raymond, who up to this point hasn't done much before, but it was interesting that he was the writer and director. So the film was released on demand, video on demand, but also in a few select cinemas, and it seemed to disappear without a trace, which is unusual given the cast involved. So what is the film actually about? Henry Cavill plays a cop whose name is Marshall, which I didn't realise until afterwards, and I had to look up the name of his character on IMDb, but I'll come to that later. The film begins with a girl who's running away from someone. She's half dressed, it's freezing cold, and someone is pursuing her. And in order to escape this person, she throws herself off a bridge, landing on a logging truck and is carried away. So straight away there's a lot of drama in the film, a lot of tension, and you get this feel the film is aiming for something like Seven, where there's a creepy serial killer or a stalker or something like that. So on the positive side, the film is 2 hours long, but it wastes no time getting into the action. Straight away, you have this one story where Marshall is trying to find out where this girl came from and what happened to her. In parallel to that, you have Ben Kingsley, a character called Cooper, who, along with his assistant, who's a young woman, they are creating a honey trap for people who are attempting to groom young women online, and we begin to find out why Ben Kingsley's character is doing this and so on. So that's running the story in parallel. Of course, the two storylines inevitably intertwine, and then we have Henry Cavill sort of working with Ben Kingsley's Cooper to find out what's actually going on, as a number of other young women are being abducted and we don't know who's doing it or what happened to them. Without spoiling anything, the film is quite moody and interesting in that it's trying to go for a particular tone. It doesn't spend too much time on character development. In its favour, there are no long scenes with people talking at each other. We begin to get a very clear picture of what Henry Cavill's character is like. He has an ex-wife and he's trying to build a positive relationship with his daughter. And some of the dialogue in those scenes are really good. There's a real kind of shorthand and they don't dwell on things and signpost things. However, that also is a bit of a drawback later on in the film, where there are some critical moments where you could have had a little bit more explanation. So there's a lack of clarity on key moments in the script. As mentioned, I had no idea that Henry Cavill's character was called Marshall. I don't need someone saying his name in every single scene, but I don't know if it's actually mentioned anywhere. If it is, it's so quick, it's blink and you miss it. For a large part of the film, Henry Cavill seems to grunt and have monosyllabic responses. They don't really give him much to do. As I said, there are a couple of scenes where he gets to show real emotion and a connection with his daughter, but apart from that, he isn't given much. Nathan Fillion is pretty much wasted in this film. He has a couple of humorous scenes, perhaps to lighten the tone of what is otherwise quite a dark and oppressive film, but generally he's wasted. Stanley Tucci doesn't have a lot to do as the kind of tired and weary person who's in charge of the police. And Ben Kingsley's character has a couple of emotional scenes, but there again, he doesn't have too much to do. Alexandra Daddario's character is called Rachel, and at the beginning of the film, we're told that she's in charge of cyber, and we see her working with the two techies trying to unravel things. However, later on in the film, she's interrogating someone who's suspected of having abducted all of these women. So I don't know why she's in there trying to interrogate this person. And this is where the film begins to fall apart, because their character makes some really stupid decisions. They're investigating this character, trying to work out his motive, where he came from, what he did, and if he's actually responsible. And she does some really stupid things that up to that point wouldn't make sense for the character, because she seems fairly intelligent, driven, and obviously has done well to be in such a senior position. So there are a number of inconsistencies in the script like that. It begins to chop and change, and you could say, oh well, you blame it on the change from the writer to the director and the vision was different. However, the writer is the director in this film, so you could then say, perhaps it's something in the editing, but I don't want to blame all of the problems on this film on the editor. I think the film was trying to do something really intelligent and really clever, and the idea and the concept behind this perhaps is what enticed some of this cast to come on board. However, the execution wasn't done nearly as well as the promise of the script. The story as itself, in the core of it, is interesting, and I did enjoy that, but it just seemed to leap about. There are some great action scenes, but generally something starts happening and you don't know why it's happening because the lead up to it has been inconsistent. So for all of those reasons, I think the film has a lot of promise, but it never actually delivers. In this case, I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 and say it's definitely worth watching. It's a great Saturday night thriller. However, it's not something you can only watch with one eye because you need to really focus on some of the key moments because they spin by so fast. If you blink and you'll miss them. So you may even need to go back a couple of times to work out what's actually happened. But it's worth a watch. It's good fun and it's an interesting kind of action thriller. So, have you seen Night Hunter? If so, get in touch with us and let us know. Contact us via email, come onto the Facebook group, and don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel.